Okay. Good, good afternoon. This is meeting of the Child Care Subcommittee on the 5th of March, 2026. In this committee, we have four bills that we will be considering and possibly voting on today. The first bill is HB 561, which is Doug Blockridge Carr's bill. Uh, Alistair, can you provide a summary of what the bill does?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. This bill extends funding for the Maryland Child Care Credential Program, which allows child care workers to uh, get funding to receive credentials or to get reimbursed for their credentials in the amount appropriated to the program in fiscal year 24 uh, in perpetuity, which is, I believe, around $5.6 million.
Okay. Now, colleagues, we are second on this bill, but I just wanted to give an opportunity to have a discussion, if there is any comments or feedback on the bill. Okay, I'm looking through the list here and I do not see any. Oh, I'm sorry. You wear many hats, Delegate Flywich Carr, so go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, I'll just say we are secondary on this bill. Had a good hearing with bipartisan support in the Appropriations Committee, so I just wanted to note that.
Great, thank you, thank you. Okay. Okay, any other discussion on the bill? Okay, since we're still waiting on appropriations, we will end the discussion on HB 561 and move on to HB 748. There are amendments to the bill, and Alistair, if you can provide a summary and the amendments for us, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 748 involves changes to the pathways in the early childhood educator career ladder for private pre-kindergarten providers, which allows private pre-kindergarten providers to be deemed a teacher or a early childhood education teaching assistant under certain pathways. Under House Bill 1441 of 2024, there were you could achieve those benchmarks by reaching certain hours worked, but you had to do it by a certain date in time. You had to to be a teaching assistant, you had to earn a CDA or an associate's degree before July 1, 2027 and have an accumulated 15 years of experience by July 1, 2024. And similar requirements were made of teachers by 24 that year, 10 years of experience and earn a associate's degree by 2030. So as the bill came in, it just made those things permanent at 3 years and 6 years time. The amendments tweak that a little bit, require that someone who's hired as an early childhood teaching assistant earn a CDA within 3 months or hold a bachelor's degree. And for a teacher, they create two different pathways, one in which um, the experiential requirements happen before July 1, 2024, or going forward if they, within 6 months of being hired as a lead teacher, qualify by getting an associate's degree. Hopefully that's not too technical. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any, oops, sorry, everybody. Are there any questions or discussion on the amendments? Just making sure, because how it's, sorry, how it's viewed, it's hard for me to see everybody's hand.
Madam Chair,
Okay,
would you
great,
like a
perfect.
motion?
Yes, at this point, now that I see no hands are raised, is there a motion to move the amendments?
Move the amendments.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Delegate Blockridge Card, seconded by Delegate Addison. All those in favor of the amendments as explained, everyone's on camera, so please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Is there a motion to move the bill as amended?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Delegate Miller, seconded by Delegate Colling. All those in favor of HB 748 as amended, please say aye or raise your hand with the camera on. Okay, that is unanimous. So HB 748 is moved out of this committee as amended. Okay. Next, we have HB 849, followed by HB 1321. Those are two bills we heard yesterday regarding the Child Care Scholarship. We'll first go with the discussion on HB 849, and there are amendments. Alistair, if you could please explain the amendments to the subcommittee.
Sorry, it was muted. So
Okay.
both of these bills have to do with the Child Care Scholarship Program. The amendments put them in slightly different postures. The amendments make HB 849 one a bill that is focused on the prioritization for applicants to the Child Care Scholarship Program. So under the amendments for HB 849, if there is a freeze in the Child Care Scholarship Program, which there currently is a freeze, um, the State Department of Education has to create a wait list. This bill codifies the current people who are exempted from the wait list, which most of which are required by federal law. Those are individuals receiving temporary cash assistance, temporary assistance for needy families, families in which a child, parent, or caregiver is enrolled in the federal supplemental security income program, the sibling of a child who's already in the program, and one that this bill is adding, a child who is homeless. Additionally, this bill creates a prioritization of the wait list that is currently in effect and it seems to be continuing to be in effect. The wait list gives priority first to the applicants with the greatest need, second to applicants who have been employed for at least 20 hours a week by a child care center, family child home, a large family child home, or an eligible publicly funded pre-kindergarten program that accepts children in the child care scholarship program. So their employer has to participate in the program. Then the third prioritization is applicants with young children, those under the age of 3. And finally, applicants who have been on the wait list for the longest period of time. There are also some requirements that the State Department of Education update its application process for the Child Care Scholarship Program so that it may discern who is and is not a child care worker. There's also a requirement that the State Department of Education review the methodology it uses to determine whether someone is attending a job training program with an eye towards having a wider methodology that is more accessible by more people. This bill is contingent on the passage of 1321, which we can get into in a second. And those are the amendments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alistair. Are there any questions or any discussion on the amendments that Alistair has laid out? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to move the amendments?
Move the amendments.
There's a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Delegate Plockridge-Carr, seconded by Delegate Miller. All those in favor of the amendments as described in HB 849, please raise your hand or say aye. Okay. All right. Looks like that is unanimous. All those opposed, I see none. Is there a bill? Sorry, is there a bill? Is there a motion to move the bill as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Delegate Miller, seconded by Delegate Plockridge-Carr. All those in favor of HB 849 as amended, please raise your hand or say aye. Looks like that is unanimous because I do not see anyone opposed. Okay, so HB 849 moves up. That's a delay. I am in favor of it. HB 849's amendment has moved out of the subcommittee. Next, we have HB 1321. Alistair, please explain the amendments to the bill.
So this is another child care scholarship bill, and this one is like the last, this one is contingent on 849. just as that one was contingent on this one. So this one, rather than being focused on the waitlist and prioritization, is focused on procedure and applications to the program. So as amended, this bill requires that if there is a waitlist in effect, the State Department of Education must establish a process to inform people on the waitlist about the potential eligible pre-kindergarten program slots in the county in which they reside, and also Head Start or early Head Start programs that operate in their county. Additionally, this bill, as amended, repeals the current presumptive eligibility process for the Child Care Scholarship Program, and requires that when applicants apply to the program, they be given information on income-based government assistance programs and tax credits for which they may be eligible. Finally, this bill allows the State Department of Education to set up a system of partial scholarships in which individuals participating in the program will be required to provide a co-payment. There's some limitations on what that can be. First, individuals who are at or below the federal poverty line are not required to pay a co-payment if the department so chooses to establish a system of co-payments. Second of all, the co-payment amount has to be based on the individual's annual household income. Their income above the federal poverty line. As their annual household income increases, they are charged a greater percentage of their income above the poverty line, but the State Department of Education is required to set buckets in such a way, to use a technical phrase, that will minimize the increase in co-payments that an individual has to pay as they move from category to category. Finally, if a individual has more than one, sorry, not finally, two more things. If an individual has more than one child in receiving a child care scholarship, they have to have a co-payment for both children, but for each subsequent child, the co-payment amount has to be lower than the previous amount. Finally, no matter what, the co-payment may not be more than 7% of the individual's household income. And the department is also authorized to set a minimum co-payment amount for each family, but the minimum co-payment amount may not be more than $10 per month. So if you're just above the federal poverty line, they could set a co-payment of $10 a month for you, possibly. Other than that, there are some reporting requirements in this bill. There's some uncodified language. Maryland recently got an earmark in the latest federal budget to set up a program for publicly funded pre-kindergarten enrollment, in which live data about publicly funded pre-kindergarten programs will be available to share with the public. However, until that system is implemented, the requirements of the bill only require that you share the most recent enrollment data and program figures. Once that system is implemented, there is an understanding that MSD will give up-to-date information. I think that covers the amendments, Madam Chair. Oh, you're muted, Madam Chair, sorry.
Thanks, Alistair. I was giving you kudos. Thank you for the amazing explanation of the amendments. Is there any question or discussion? I want to recognize Chris Push.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask a question. The presumptive eligibility component is where parents are presumed eligible and have a period of time to submit their documents and still be able to get childcare so they can go to work right away. So if that's being waived, is there going to be any requirement of how quickly MSD has to notify the family that they have childcare? Because this was the issue previously. It took sometimes 30, 60 or longer days, and obviously people can't go to work waiting that long for childcare. So I was just wondering if there's any safeguards related to the change in this bill. Thank you for considering the question.
Ash, you want to take that?
Yeah, there is nothing in the bill as the amendment is currently structured. I know that it used to be the case that people had to wait more than a month. I think the State Department of Education has pushed that down more. That's at least my understanding of the situation, but nothing in the amendment as of now that addresses that.
Uh, I will acknowledge Beth Morrow from the Family Network.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As the bill was introduced, it mentioned regional median income, and in the amendment, it switches to the federal poverty level. I would like to caution the committee that the federal poverty level is very low. For a family of 3, it's around $27,000, and for a family of 4, it's around $33,000. I would ask if the committee could please consider a percentage of the federal poverty level rather than just the federal poverty level, perhaps 300% of the federal poverty level, if you're going to tie it to the FPL. Perhaps there's another mechanism by which you could tie the co-payment structure, just to ensure that families who earn such a low amount of money are not excluded from being able to participate, given such a high co-payment that they'd be asked to contribute. Thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you. Alistair, do you want to take that? Because I think yeah, go ahead, Alistair.
Yeah, I would just say that's a policy choice for you guys to make. I think that the understanding is that those families at the just above the federal poverty level are not going to be required to pay that much more than they currently are. If they're currently being required to pay $1 per month, that's $4 in co-payments, and conceivably if the State Department of Ed chooses to set a minimum co-payment amount, it might be $10, an additional $6 a month, but it couldn't be more than that under this bill. But up to you guys. There's a tension between making sure that the greatest number of families don't have a copay with being able to enroll more families, and that's a policy choice that legislators have to make.
I see Sarah Neville Morgan. I'll acknowledge her for discussion. Good. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you so much.
Assistant Superintendent, excuse me.
Maryland State Department of Ed. So I wanted to address what Ms. Bush raised with the presumptive eligibility. And some of the things that we have raised before is that the way Maryland was implementing it does not now follow the federal requirements for presumptive eligibility, which is there was a faster way to address people who were already qualified through something like WIC or SNAP versus anyone who could come in through that door. And in Maryland, it wasn't everyone come in through the door. So there were additional flags from that. But the biggest part was that because of Maryland doing that push, we had a 73% reduction in our processing time. And we're able to get it down to about 9 days in processing applications. So that was another piece there, the federal flag, as well as the reduction in the processing. And then to go to what Ms. Morrow raised, it is for the Child Care and Development Fund, which is the federal funds for the Child Care Scholarship. It is based on state median income, and that addresses some of the price differentials across the state. If you're looking at Montgomery County versus a county on the Eastern Shore or something like that, when we read the language, we interpreted it and stuck in the federal poverty level into one of our SMI bands. So there were ways we could address it, but we would not be able to do all of the bands based on federal poverty level. We would still need to have SMI in there somewhere. So that was just, when we read it, we were able to interpret it and make it work.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Plavich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, if Dr. Neville Morgan can just weigh back in, I actually was not absorbing what you were just saying there in terms of how you accounted for that. So can you just explain that again?
Yeah. So right now, and it looks like I froze. Okay, back. our system, the IT system, has several bands that we would have to restart again to do this. And we are able to have a lower income band below federal poverty to really address the lowest income. And then we would take the second level band and make that federal poverty level. And then above that, we would revert back to our state median income again. It is cleanest if it is SMI, but we did, in looking through the language, we found a way to interpret it so that the FPL would be one of the bands, and then we would revert back to SMI.
Madam Chair, if I can follow up, please. Okay, so then just to make sure I'm understanding, so it sounds like then from an implementation point of view, and correct me if I'm not putting the right words in your mouth, that for the folks who are under federal poverty limit, you figured out a way in terms of the technology to address this so that they don't have co-pays. But then to Alistair's earlier point, for the folks who are just above federal poverty, but still, fairly low income for most parts of Maryland, say at like 200 or 300% of the federal poverty line, that those folks still are looking at fairly low co-pays under the other language of the bill. Otherwise, we're right, it might just be $10 a month or something not much higher than that under the potential income bands that you're looking at. Is that all fair to say?
That's fair to say. And I think it was the flag on federal poverty level, that FPL is new language in the Child Care Scholarship Program. We operate by state median income, or SMI, and that just lets us address that cost of living factor across the state.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Great. Chris, did you have your hand up as a lingering notation, or you had a second question or a
No,
second?
I'm sorry.
just wanna make sure.
Still had it up from previously. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the great discussion and follow-up. Is there any other discussion or questions on the amendments? Okay, so with that, is there a motion to move the amendments as laid out?
Move the amendments.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Delegate Plotkovich-Carr, seconded by Delegate Miller. All those in favor of the amendments in HB 1321, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? It's not me, it's just a technical lingering. And I did want to acknowledge that Delegate Jessica Fomark is excused for this meeting. So with that, is there a motion to move the bill HB 1321 as amended?
Move favorable as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Delegate Plotkovich-Carr, seconded by Delegate Miller. All those in favor of HB 1321 as amended, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay. All right, any opposed? Okay, seeing none, HB 1321 is moved out of this committee as amended, and I believe that concludes our dockets this afternoon. Thank you very much, and see you in committee in a few minutes.